you have a new assignment in Google Classroom, and it has to do with creating a Google slide of a famous work of art or a favorite work of art for you. So I want you to look either in an art book or go online and look specifically for a drawing or painting, since this class will be focused more on that category. And find one that you think is interesting, and you're going to be researching that one painting and putting it into a Google slide. So to do the assignment, you're going to have to go onto Google Classroom, and there's a new category. It's called Art History. You will be clicking on the Google document. So that should take you to a Google slide, and this one I've already uploaded with some information. So this is basically the kind of information you would see if you go to a gallery. So it's very basic. All I want from you is a title, and the title should be in italics. Then below that, in a smaller font, I want you to put the name of the artist. So in this case, it's Vincent van Gogh. Then tell me what the medium is. So what are the materials? So oil on canvas. If you can find out the dimensions of the piece, you should put that on there too, and it should be in inches. And then lastly, you're going to have the date. So you're not finished here. You're going to be researching this on your own. So I want some more information, some background on this specific painting. So you might want to start with places online and look up some information. Don't just use one site. Like, I wouldn't rely entirely on Wikipedia. I would go to multiple sites and try and find some valid information on each piece, because there is really a story behind each work of art, and understanding how the art was made, when it was made, kind of the emotional state of the artist can really make it much more powerful. So I'm just typing in famous paintings. That's a good way to start out. There's lots of websites that talk about famous paintings. You could also type in drawings too. And then I would look for, when you kind of hover your mouse or right click your mouse over an image, I would look for dimensions, because you do want to get a certain dimension. I always try and get as close to like 1000 by 900 as I can. Just as a heads up, there are a lot of images that you might look at that are parodies of famous paintings, so please try and avoid those. Double check to make sure it's the original. There's also a lot of artwork that treats the human body, and I'm talking about nudes, so just be aware of that. It's part of art, and the body can be an interesting subject too. So before I start, I just want to let you know that the slide is up on the screen, but I also have some notes that are on a piece of paper. You could have like another document where you write your notes in, but I would have something written down. That way you're not like caught out. So this painting happens to be iconic. Its title is Las Meninas, which has to do with the ladies in waiting. So ladies in waiting were a group of women who really focused on any unmarried princess. The artist is Diego Velasquez, and he is a really famous Spanish painter from the Spanish Golden Age. We are looking at an oil on canvas painting, and it is large. It's 125 by 108 inches. Just so you have an idea, that's 10 feet by 9 feet. And it was painted in 1656, so in kind of the Baroque time period. In the painting, we see a group of people, predominantly young women, and they're all clustered around this one single young girl. If we look kind of up close, you can see that the young girl is contrasting with the other figures. She's much kind of paler. She's lighter in color than the other figures, so it kind of calls attention to her. Usually warm colors tend to grab the eyes, so she's dressed in these yellow colors and with a little bit of red at her neckline, so it kind of helps to grab the eye's attention. The whole painting kind of revolves around this young girl who's about 5 years old, and that's because she is the princess. So she is the Princess of Spain, and her father is King Philip IV. In fact, you can see both her father and mother in the mirror. So there is a mirror right behind her head, and you can kind of see the reflection. In fact, when you look at this painting, it's really a painting of a painting. When you look at the artist who's off to the left, and he's got his brush and palette in his hand, he's standing up in the black, he's really looking towards you, the viewer. So it's almost like he's painting you, although the mirror indicates that it is a portrait of King Philip and his wife, Mariana of Austria. One of the reasons the princess is treated with such reverence in this piece is because that children often died. So this king in particular had numerous children, but at least half of them didn't make it into adulthood. The people that you see surrounding the princess are people that would have had a special connection to the princess. They were either ladies in waiting, so they were waiting until she was actually full grown and married, and then they were servants and entertainment, and also protection. The man in the back is her guard. The woman who is next to the man could be a governess, somebody to help kind of watch and keep an eye on the young princess. Diego Velasquez achieved something that a lot of artists only dreamed of, and that was to become a court painter. So if you had court patronage, you pretty much had it made. And this is in a time, you have to remember, in the 1600s, that painting wasn't all that popular. They thought that poetry and music at that time were a little bit more important than painting. But the King of Spain had a different view. He had a previous court painter who was not as good as Velasquez, and that court painter died, so Velasquez was able to take his spot. He was nominated. It's obvious even now that the man was like a master at creating realistic paintings. What I find really funny about this piece is that it could be interpreted as the biggest self-portrait of all times, because he really is the secondary focal point. It's like your eye bounces between the princess and then him and then all the other people.